Right, facilities building. Receive update. Now, do we have anything from on the Scout side?
Well, first of all, I think Claire and Gemma together have filled in an expression of interest form. That's gone ahead.
Yes.
I've also seen an architect, but I think Gemma has another architect that she may consult with.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to hear back from him. I had a long talk with him. I've got in this envelope all the information I gave him. He's going to work on it and make out a cost sheet of what it will cost before planning applications are put in. There'll be all sorts of surveys. It'll probably cost £4,000 at least before a planning application ever goes in. For the owl surveys, bat surveys, all sorts of archaeological surveys, maybe even to see if there's anything been in that ground before we do anything.
At our last discussion, the point was to come up with a viable building plan.
I've got one in here that I've shown him. I can put it on the table if you want me to.
Well, following that, the next day,
And I got your
Measurement.
plan.
yes,
I've fitted it into that, but it'll take 3 metres of the play area to get a good sized building in.
well, that was the sort of thing we were prepared to deal with. We wanted to know about.
Right.
Just on the expression of interest form, so this is for the youth, I think it's called Youth Investment Scheme. It targets particular areas. We're in one of the eligible areas. It's a huge pot of money. They're looking for quite large scale projects, which ours would fit into. So I filled it in with all of the things we wanted to do on the rec field, because thinking, see what they say. You had to say whether you were ready to go immediately, short to medium term, or not quite ready yet. So I said medium, and basically they are I got the response to say they were first of all focusing on large projects that are ready to go immediately, so within 0 to 3 months. What they will do is they will call us in 6 months' time, because we are deemed like the project would be eligible, so they'll call us in 6 months' time to take it forward to the next, to help us move it forward then. So they're suggesting that we basically do as much, we get ourselves to the point where if we got, in 6 months' time get the call, we can say, right, well, here's our fully costed project, we've got the planning, we've got outline planning, we're ready to go, we just need the grant, the button to be pressed on the grant application. But there is a huge lot, and they are talking about funding big projects with expensive projects.
So that be a building.
Did you get a reference?
Yeah, I mean everything. I've got the print out.
You've got a reference with that written
But
down?
I think yes, it would be everything. But obviously, if I don't think it would be a problem if we've moved on, and if we do the Moogle or something in the meantime. I don't think if we got funding from somewhere else for that, it wouldn't be a problem. We could just sort of take those things off.
The thing is, I've spoken to people, somebody at Scout headquarters, and they're willing to give us a boost and help us with any technicalities that would come up. If I had the reference for that expression of interest, I would
I'll have a look and see.
use
I'm
that.
sure they would.
Then they can look into it and see what, whether we're doing the right thing, going about things the right way.
But we really need to get to the point where we have I think there's sort of 3 aspects that we need to do. There's the actual building, how are we building it, what's the plan, what's the cost of the build, etc. What we're doing about sewage connections, utility connections. So that's all the first strand. The second strand is how is it going to be owned, managed? So are you talking about a parish council building that the Scouts manage on their behalf? Are you talking about a Scout building which the parish council is leasing the land and the Scouts put building on that? Are you talking about there's a long lease in place? I think you need to and all of those are going to have slightly different answers to then how it's managed. And then third, you've got the costs, basically the maintenance, the running costs, the running management, which will be answered partly by the second question.
Yes.
But you've got to, we are going to have to cost that as best as we can, and I know things like utility bills and stuff are changing, it's quite difficult. But I think Gemma certainly is very keen to go down as many renewables as possible in there, so that we're kind of keeping costs as low as possible. So, but you'd still have to cost, you probably, if it's going to be parish council managed, you're going to have to think about who's cleaning it, how bookings are being organised. The Scouts have another question to answer if it's going to be them that are doing it. So So I think there's three sort of things that need to be tackled and dealt with and got ready in the next 6 months,
What's
because
the feeling?
we need all of those questions answered.
What is the feeling here about who should actually run it? Should it be the council? Should it be a third party?
At our conversation, I understood that the Scouts,
When you spoke to me at the village hall.
yes,
Yes.
the Scouts were happy for it to be a Holy Scout building.
We are, provided we can come up with a definite lease. And how is it going to be a long lease? Is it going to be a 5-yearly lease from the council for that bit of land? Would the parish council be prepared to lease us that land?
Yes,
They would.
well, it's not, nothing is confirmed, but if we take these questions on board and we can give you an answer.
If the
I would
Scouts,
say lease terms would be a parish council.
Yeah.
if the Scouts were in leasehold ownership of it, would anybody else in the village be able to use it?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
I think the whole point would be that it would be
That's part of the
run as
discussion.
a sort of community building, but you would just be basically offloading the management to a different organisation rather than the parish council, because the Scouts would need any organisation, whether it's the parish council or the Scouts or a third, as yet, you know, village hall committee is a sort of satellite, you know, whoever it is, they're going to have to make it pay, part of which is going to be making sure it gets maximised use. Because it would still be, I mean, I think the intention is still that it would have, even if it was built sort of under the Scout umbrella, that it would have changing spaces and things for like the football teams or sports use and so on.
When we talked about this before the Scouts, if the parish council was to own the building, there would have to be some form of charitable trust, which is a huge nightmare. I mean, John Marshall explained all this to us. And individuals would have to sign and take responsibility. Which would be quite an onerous task, I think. However, if it was a Scouts building, it simplifies things enormously.
I suppose all the parents, all the trustees within the Scout group would be the trustees of the building.
So I think
All the trustees within the Scout group would be the trustees of the building as well.
yes, it will be entirely a Scout building.
It would probably work like that.
Yes.
Yes. I know I spoke to you in the village hall, but that was opinions between the two of us. It wasn't committee opinions.
No, but it was called an exploration of ways forward.
Right. Whatever.
Well, was there something said that you weren't happy
No.
on retrospect?
No. I just wondered whether the parish council or this committee would be up for those suggestions.
I think it sounds a great way forward.
You think everybody think it's fine?
Yeah.
So we'll do it
But
as a
I think
Scout.
but I think we need to do a
So
plan.
we'll now have to organise a lease for the land.
But I think we should just proceed as a group, because I think it's still, the design I think has to work for everybody, even if it then becomes owned by the Scouts eventually.
Yeah, I think, and as you were saying, if we're going down the route that it's for the grants and stuff, for a full project for down there,
Yeah.
it would be better run as a joint venture for now, and then upon completion it may be a lease is signed for 5 years, 10 years,
I mean,
or whatever.
the form,
Go on, sorry.
the form, so the expression of interest form that I filled in, again, I don't suppose it will be the end of the world, because I think the parish council and the Scout group would both qualify as an eligible applicant. I filled in the expression of interest form in the parish council's name, but stated that the organisation would be providing youth services. The lead organisation providing youth services would be the Scouts. So I put both
Yeah, so
details in the
they're both
form.
recognised on that anyway.
Yeah, so I think it will be okay to I think we can, take it either way.
I think you just answered my question, actually.
So the next steps,
So, well, I mean, I wonder if the working group would also have a sort of
what have we put on the agenda for the next
yeah.
full council meeting? The question of the lease.
But are we ready to? Are we?
I think it'd be worth having a discussion at the working group on it first, maybe seeing
Because
the plans and whatever they've got.
But I feel like this is what we.
They want to know if in principle the parish council will agree.
But I think in principle the parish council has in the past said it was happy to have a building on the
Yes.
field, and I think in order to agree anything further, it needs to know what it needs more. I think it's too open ended to just say,
Yeah.
"Are you happy to have a lease?" Because I think we would have to put forward this is what it's going to. This is what we're talking about leasing
There
from
needs to
you.
be conditions of use first that
Yeah.
allow the rest of the community access to the building.
So I think it's more work to
as
do
well,
before it comes
but
to the
it's-
parish council.
Okay.
In principle, it's a great idea. I just think there needs to be little things ironed out on it
We
first.
should get
We had this conversation a little while back about this
We didn't get anywhere though, did we?
No, we didn't know. But a sole scout use of the building, and there's something sticking in my mind that the scouts weren't prepared to finance a building to be used by somebody else.
I think this was before this
I
grant
think
was
this is
available.
not a scout grant. This is like a kind of
Right.
it's a big central pot of money.
But if the scouts are going to be the sole occupier of the building, does that not open you up to scout funding as well?
I don't think the scouts have got a lot of direct funding. For
There's no
for
funding from
projects.
Scouts for new projects, but that is funding for
Refurb,
upkeep and
yeah.
refurbishment, that type of thing. Little,
And I think there's like
little grants
yeah.
all the time, yes.
Yeah.
So that would,
They did have. I think they were going to have. I think they were one of the. So this big fund. Was this not the one that the Scout Association got asked if it wanted to be one of the administrators of this fund, but that's why they said no.
Right.
So the Scout Association didn't want to administrate the fund because it said it couldn't. It's supposed to be providing scouting services, not something that could be applied to by anybody. And it was clear on the form that it could be several organisations working together as long as it was clear who was sort of providing the youth. So one of the organisations had to be providing services.
one of the biggest aims, I think, is towards sport for youth as well. And Scouting doesn't produce, isn't specifically aimed at sport, it's aimed at, well, other types of sport like mountaineering and canoeing and that type of thing. It's not aimed at the sports that everybody can take part in, or
Right.
everybody's willing to take part in. But I think with having the football changing area in with it, it's going to be a big boost to get this grant.
Yeah. I think so.
And it said you could have some community use of it. It didn't have to be exclusively, but what you had to do was sort of, I think they will expect us to be able to estimate how much is going to be used by youth and how much is going to be used by community.
I think there's 386 billion for up to 300 projects.
Yeah, so go down the Scout youth route is the
A lot of money.
pool the power of the grants, basically.
It's a huge pot of money.
Yeah.
So hopefully, if we can be ready in 6 months and we haven't given it all out too quickly, then. But I think this is the thing that we need to be ready to go because all of the grants are the same. Once they open, they start allocating. So we kind of need the project to be ready at any point, even if it's a case of okay, well we were ready last year, so we just need to update the costs.
If we get ready soon, can we not go to them and say we're not ready?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Why does that have to be a 6-month target?
That was what they gave us.
It's more because I said we weren't ready to go in within 3 months because we
Can
had
you
to
get back to
plan
them?
everything.
If we get
Well, that's
exactly what
I
you
said,
said,
yeah.
yes.
Have we exhausted facilities?
Yes.
I'll show you these plans if you want to see them. It's a plan I've drawn up, who the architect that I spoke to has had a look at. He hasn't come back to me on it yet. Whether he approves of it or whether he'll go down those lines or not, I don't know. I've got everything put together, the plans on this back page. There's 2 or 3 copies. You want to see them as well?
At least it's
You've
what
got
you
me, have a look.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
it's in
got-
there.
I've got-
your dimensions out. Going back, that was a plan to fit in along that boundary fence, the building with a corner cut.
Well, you could. But I think people, the school.
I've got the changing rooms in one corner with a separate door. They can be completely separated off. There's one loo in there. They can be completely separated off by locking on the doors inside from the rest of the building, so that they can't go charging around their daily use. The loos themselves can be completely isolated with using this door, or the whole place can be open so you can use everything. Spent quite a bit of time trying to work it all out.
Like some of the football association ones, it's similar. Just on looking at it from a distance.
Anyway, I think this can just go to the working group.
Some of you probably had that already on email. I think I sent one or two. Claire and Gemma had a copy, didn't you, or not? Or not with the
So
plan?
it's just changed the last one.
I've changed the building completely to fit in that corner. That's the page I've changed completely. The plan of the actual building.
Action list.